If you're thinking about buying a piece of self-assembly furniture, something like this, and you're a little bit daunted about putting it together, maybe you've had a sneaky look at the instructions and you're a bit worried about it, then don't worry. I'm John the Handyman, and coming up are some of my own hints and tips that I hope will give you a little bit more understanding of the job and help you put it together a little bit better. And to help me illustrate things, I'm going to be putting together an IKEA drawer. The first thing you want to do is to find some suitable space. If you're putting together something large, maybe a bed or a wardrobe, you're probably best to do that in the room where it's going to go. This drawer being quite small, really I can do that anywhere, and I'm going to put that together on my dining room table. Use a short bladed knife when you're opening the box. If you use a long blade, there's always a danger that you'll cut through the packaging and damage the contents. Now the next tip might seem rather obvious, but read the instructions. It's well worth spending a few minutes going through the instruction booklet and working out what you've got to do. You'll need a few tools, of course, and the instructions ought to tell you what they'll be. A Phillips or cross-headed screwdriver, a long-handled and a stubby one's quite helpful, a flat-bladed screwdriver, possibly a hammer, and invariably an Allen key. But you'll probably find that that's been supplied with whatever you've bought. I recently put together a bed which came with this really nice ratchet. It's preferable to lay everything out on a soft surface so that you won't damage the panels. I'm using a blanket here, but some towels will work just as well. Once you've opened the box, take everything out of the packaging, lay it all out, and then you can go through and check what's what. Now check all the fittings, empty the plastic bag and make sure everything is there. Let me explain one or two of these fittings. This metal piece is known as the cam bolt or cam dowel. The circular piece is the cam nut. It's a little bit like the letter C. So on the bolt itself, one end has got quite a coarse thread, and that's the end that you screw into the furniture board. When you put the cam nut into the board, you'll see it has a tiny arrow on it, and that arrow has to point towards the edge of the board and in line with the hole that's inside it. Invariably you'll find a number of dowels. These tiny stubby countersunk screws hold the drawer runners in place. Here are two different lengths of pan-headed screws. The longer of the two screws is used to fix the drawer handle, and the shorter is used to fix the metal support that goes underneath the bottom of the drawer. Now these are rather unusual. They're plastic or nylon. I don't really know what you call them, so let's just call them nails, because you actually have to bang them in with a hammer. Let's go ahead and assemble this drawer. This is the base, two side panels, the back panel, a glossy front panel with the drawer handle, a couple of drawer runners, and finally the metal support that goes underneath the drawer. Now when you look at these panels, you'll often find that one side looks a little bit different to the other. In the case of this side panel, you can see there's a rebate here with a couple of through holes. Other than that, there's nothing else on this panel. Now when you turn it over, the story is slightly different. These are the through holes we've just seen, and along this edge are three smaller holes, and they're the ones that the drawer runner fits onto. The cam nut goes into this larger hole. The final two holes on this end panel are for the wooden dowels. Start by screwing the cam dowels into the larger holes on the side panel. Don't be tempted to use an electric drill unless you've got it on a very low torque setting. The last thing you want to do is to put too much force on the bolt and strip the thread. Put the wooden dowels into the remaining two holes. They're just a push fit. Once you've done one end, do the same to the other end. Be careful if you're knocking the dowels in that you don't punch them right the way through. Let's take one of the side panels. Now these two side panels are different. They're left and right handed. The first thing to do is to put these fittings in. Push them in there with the arrow facing towards the edge of the board and in line with the hole. Do the same with the second one. Gently push the two pieces together and with a screwdriver turn the cam nut. Half a turn will do. It'll pull the two pieces together and they'll lock tight. Once the sides are in place, you'll see that they sit just above this slot, which takes the hardboard base. The back locates in the rebates and is held in place with the white serrated nails. Locate both the white nails and push them far enough through so they just protrude, say around 5mm. Put the hardboard base into the slot. Now you'll find it wants to fall at this point because there's nothing else holding it in place. So here's my next tip. Take a couple of pieces of tape and stick them around the edges. They'll help keep everything in place. Now fix the back panel. Make sure you've located the slot properly over the back of the hardboard base. Push the ends into the rebate and make the joint tight by tapping in those white plastic nails. Now we come to the drawer runners. So tip the whole drawer over and position the front so it overlaps the top of your work surface. The drawer runners have got 3 fixing holes. The wheel on the drawer runner goes towards the back. Put in 3 of these very stubby countersunk screws. Once all 3 screws are in place, you can tighten them and then fix the other runner. Sometimes fitting these little screws can be a real fiddle. So try putting the drawer runner on one side and popping the screw in from the top. Off the screwdriver up to it and then off with the whole assembly up to the side of the drawer itself. This way there's less likelihood of the screw actually falling out. Of course, another alternative would be just to turn the whole drawer up on its edge, but I didn't think to do that. The back support is held with these 2 tiny little pan-headed screws. Put 1 screw in the front, but don't do it all the way up, not yet. It needs to be a little bit loose so that you can put this metal piece over it, which you then turn through 90 degrees and you drop the other end over the back panel. Now you'll see there's some movement in here. That's absolutely fine because we're going to get rid of that. So here's my next tip. Use a long screwdriver. It's much easier than a short stubby one. Tighten the screw up so that it no longer rattles. Put the second screw in the back. Now turn the drawer over in readiness for the handle. Each handle is fixed with 2 of these longer pan-headed self-tapping screws. If you look at these, the screws are rather long. They almost come through the front of the drawer handle itself. Now I had a problem with one of these the other day. The wooden handle actually split. It split a couple of inches along the back and it actually goes around the edge and onto the front face as well. So I'm going to have to just prise this apart gently, squeeze in a little bit of wood glue and hopefully that will be a decent repair. One solution would be to take a drill bit and drill out this pilot hole a little bit bigger. But just be careful you don't go all the way through the front. I started the screw off by giving it a couple of turns so that it was just beginning to bite into the handle. I then backed the screw out, so I put the screw in and backed it out 2 or 3 times until it was done up tightly. I think by doing this I was gently cutting a thread in the handle, and by taking the screw out I was pulling out any little bits of wooden swarf, which seemed to be enough to relieve the pressure and stop it from splitting. This is just something to be aware of. So there we are. Those are some of my hints and tips. I hope you found them useful. If you've got any tips of your own, please leave them in the comments down below. I'd be really interested to read them. So thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.